And good evening out there in Magic.tv land. From Rob of Rob Rubin Readings, of course, Magic.tv. And of course, every time we have a big monumental achievement, like we get another season done, or we have a particular milestone that we want to celebrate, I make it a point to go live on YouTube to kind of just make a brief announcement on things. But yeah, today I was pretty surprised to see that something pretty epic happened. We hit our 500 subscriber. Does this mean only 500 people have been watching the show? Absolutely not. But 500 amazing souls have decided to subscribe and follow our channel. And because of that, I am extremely thankful from the bottom of my heart. Because, if not for that, oh, I think I need to delete this crap. If not for that, God knows, what we'd be doing right now. But yeah, because of all these amazing people who've been tuning in, who've been watching, who've been supporting, we now hit 500 subscribers, not followers, not viewers, but subscribers, meaning that people want to be informed of our regularized content. And because of that, this is my special thank you episode of that. So we're gonna just let a little bit of people join in a bit and have a little bit of things to say. But if you're there, there's a chat box. Say hello. We want to hear from you. We want to ask some questions. I haven't figured out yet how to get the Wade Long on this yet, but we're just using the YouTube. We're not using the Facebook module. So right now, I'm gonna have to solo flight this. But if Wade is there and he wants to join in as a watcher, all you have to do is click this link. I sent you the wrong one. There you go. So anyhow, what we're going to do is I'm going to do a brief retrospective of how the magical occult community has changed throughout the years. Now, I am probably what you would call a middle-aged practitioner. I've been into it since I was a teenager, and there are people definitely who've been out there a lot longer than me. People like Wade, people like Lon. They've been doing this since I was in diapers. But I'm just going to share some of my realizations. About how the occult community has changed in the past couple of years. And as a result, what we can expect from it, because I'm actually impressed. I'm more impressed because you see, back in the day, the occult was still very much like, like I'm an occultist. You'd have to dig around. You'd have to read books. You'd have to go to the occult bookstores. That the knowledge that you were looking for was still rather obscure. A book you wanted wasn't available in one place. It would be completely normal for you to jump from place to place looking for these books, or order them. Amazon wasn't really a thing yet. Magical Orders was still pretty active. Orders like the OTO, some offshoots, the Golden Dawn, or personal covens and things like that were at the time pretty much the way to go. This wasn't exactly the only way of doing things, but definitely it got things going. So like, it was the person that you knew at the bookstore who knew something that probably passed knowledge down to you, or it was a book that you managed to stumble upon in your library. That's what pretty much got you your own personal knowledge. So what I liked about the early days, this is like around the late 80s, early 90s of occultism, is you really had to work. You really had to earn your knowledge. Like, you'd spend a lot of time reading and reading and reading, and you didn't have YouTube. You didn't have correspondence courses to prove how to do things. My offering to Belial is not accepted. Burning some frankincense today because it's to our host Belial. And of course, he's the patron of Magic.tv. So for 500 followers, this frankincense cone goes to Belial. I hope he accepts it. May we make this even more successful. So Back in the day, you had to earn your knowledge. Okay, you had to work for it. You had to attend workshops. You had to be more active. There were no shortcuts. Okay. Now, the only thing that didn't really work too well about it was there was all this really weird energy before where everything to know, to will, to dare, to keep silent, which is somewhat true. But people really didn't want to interact as much outside of magical orders organizations. Not all, I quote, not all, but a lot of the old school authors would be sometimes on a high horse. Like it would take a lot of coercing to get through to them, or you have to do them personally for you get them to learn something from them, or to get them to review a book or guest on your in an interview that you were doing via an article or something. So unfortunately, in the older days, there were a lot of high horsers going around. Now, thankfully, none of the people who've guested on Magic.tv are like that. I mean, and this is going to get to my next point because back in the day there was like, well, I've been published, so I am yay so much better. Why should I listen to you, dear mortal? And that kind of put a bit of a dickish energy out there, somewhat of an elitist energy at times. However, okay, I can't say I fully blame them for being that way because they also worked hard to earn their knowledge, to earn what they've developed. Nothing was handed to them because that was the truth before. Nothing was really ever handed to you. You couldn't go on TikTok and pick up a brief ritual. You can go on YouTube and say, what's the LBRP? You'd have to figure it out and you'd have to learn it by doing it. And usually that involved you making mistakes. So it was very normal for a lot of people to be a little bit snooty about who they talk to about things because they weren't handed anything. So why should they hand anything out? Okay. However, one of the beautiful things that came out of the god awful pandemic that happened in 2020, and of course, with the advent of social media, was that people realized that the need for connection was very, very, very necessary for survival. If you guys want to say hello or ask anything, just send it in the chat box here, live chat. We want to hear from you. So, in other words, as the pandemic put people in boxes, some of us began to realize that shit, we got all this knowledge, we might die with this knowledge, you know what I mean? And the need for interaction, the need for talking, the need for community support, the need for collaboration started going up. That, like, wait a minute, I need to connect to other people. It can't just be me alone in my sanctum sanctorum. I'm going to go mad. And that's where I noticed a significant shift. That's where I noticed people like Foolish Fish come out of the woodworks. Because, like, I only known him for a year, but the year I've known him, the epic stuff that Denny has done has just gained respect of thousands. That's where organizations like Anathema Press came out of the woodworks and started putting their books out, because a lot of these people didn't want to get on a high horse. A lot of these people wanted to just connect. They wanted to share. And I think that that's the next level of occultism, that it's okay, we have our knowledge and it's like we're not hiding it anymore, but it's we all agree that you can't just have it handed to you. Okay. It's like we wouldn't want to hold the secrets of Brazilian jiu-jitsu to ourselves, but it doesn't take away the fact that in order for us to get good at it, you need to practice. So with this, I have noticed, strangely enough, that a lot of authors who have had workshops, books published, talking tours, you name it, epics like Lon, epics like Aaron Leitch, people who've been Stephen Skinner, they're very game to connect. They're very game to talk. They're actually very game to give back. And I think that that's the next level. And I think the reason that they're doing it is because, number one, these are just great guys. I'm using them as an example, but there's a lot of people included. But at the same time, they also realize that there's so much bullshit out there that if they don't give back, then the market's going to be flooded with bullshit artists. So a lot of these people are making themselves more accessible because they value these practices, because they value this knowledge, and they also value that community aspect. So the present state of occultism now, it's less about like, I am secretly guarding my knowledge from these unworthy mortals to, hi, I'm a mage, and I'd love to share what I know, but I'd love to share it to committed people who want to do something good with these practices. That's why, like, your generation, you whippersnappers, I gotta be honest, are so lucky to have something like Foolish Fish, okay, or even Glitch Bottle, or even Esoterica by Dr. Sledge, because it is such a huge filter of bullshit. Like, ooh, what's this book? It's like the ancient art of guerrilla magic. Chances are one of these three pages is going to do a review on the author or the topic, and it's going to give you a heads up on, is this worth our time, or are we just wasting our time by getting into it? Back in our days, you'd see a book, and shout out to BJ Swain. He, because I had the same thing happen to me where he saw this book, and I don't want to mention the title, and it was something about dragons, something, something. It was like, oh, this is so freaking epic. Oh my God, I have to have this book. And when we bought it, it was garbage. You see what I mean? So the time we needed to read the book, the time we needed to get the book, the resources we needed just to buy the book was all wasted. Nowadays, though, there's like this Fermi paradox of sorts where the professionals, the genuine people, are actually making it easier for the newer generations. And this is what it's going towards. It's no longer about hoarding your knowledge just to yourself. Of course, you'll keep some things for yourself, but it's about how many people can you reach with these knowledges. And then, more importantly, it's even getting less and less about doing things based on what sells, but it's also about doing things because you feel this is a message that you want to share with the world. I mean, super shout out to Scavenged Ritual, super shout out to Anathema Press for doing these things. Because if the generation before that, the publishers, which I will not name, would focus on one thing primarily, which would be, does this book sell? Okay? Does this book sell? And if that is your viewpoint, if that's the only reason why you're doing things, then at the end of everything, your only focus is to make money. It's not to basically educate. It's actually more about like, okay, how much money can I make off this? And this doesn't go to show that like you can't make money off the practice. I mean, of course, now we got bills to pay, but this goes to show that that shouldn't be your primary objective. And the Wade Long is here, my better half. Mages who hoard their knowledge don't interest me because it means they got a finite supply and they've stopped getting new material. Smoke cigars. Yes, my dear friend Wade, that is true. That's one thing I liked about Wade when I first met him, that he was a mountain of knowledge when I was still a white belt. And he just said, okay, take what you want. And he asked me a lot of questions. So, and the reason I'm also saying this, because there were just some people that they just didn't want to cooperate. Like, I call them the scene zoners, because you message them politely and you tell them, hey, Dr. Jekyll, I'd love to have you on the show. I mean, I believe in your research, this and that. And then they could easily say, hey, thanks for the invitation, but I'm busy. They're just going to scene zone you. They're just going to ignore you. You know what I mean? Like, how hard is it to say no to someone? How hard is it to turn it down? Like, recently one author agreed to be on the show, but he was polite enough to tell me, and due to certain circumstances, I can't make it on the show this season. Thank you. He could have just been a dick and, just completely ghosted us and left us hanging. No. He actually gave me that courtesy, so definitely we're going to wish to have him back in the future. But the point I'm trying to get at is, I think we're kind of like gone from the high horses, if you get what I'm saying. If you're too sanctimonious about your practice, then you're going to be a very lonely mage. Okay, this doesn't mean that you go on Facebook and you give all the secrets of the OTO, Illuminati, Golden Dawn, because if you're selling secrets and exposing secrets like that, you are going to make enemies. Okay, but I've actually seen this current, or actually in my mediocre practice of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Once again, I tell people that I am a blue belt in Jiu-Jitsu, but I don't consider myself a good one. There were teachers in Jiu-Jitsu that I worked with that inspired the hell out of me to go back to class. And I'd say, oh, is he teaching? Because he would make you feel so welcome. He was, hey, no, man, great. I'd love to teach you this. Shout out to Professor Rico and Professor Gian for being like that, that they're so welcoming, that they want you to learn. Then there are other people like, how dare you speak to me? I'm a 50th degree black belt. I'm better than you. Fuck you, man. You know what I mean? Especially when a beginner is coming to you. It's the same thing with occultism. Like when people come to me and they ask me questions, like on a show like this or on Tarot Thursdays, I know how to give them the right knowledge. Like, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. But if you're like, how do I summon Lucifer? No, 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 no. I'm not going to help you with that crap. But if people came to me, Sir Rob, what can I do to protect myself from bad energies after a tarot reading? Well, hell yes, I'm going to share that. Hell yes, I would want people to learn. Hell yes, I would want to empower them. And I really shout out to all the people doing that. People like Marco Visconti, who's this dedicated so much of his time to just offering quality workshops in, simplifying the practices of Aleister Crowley, or even Dr. Jeremy Mice, who is being accused of impersonating himself on Facebook. Yeah, Facebook let him go. They actually cock-blocked him from impersonating himself. The truth is, it's him. Dr. Jeremy Weiss takes a topic which is very, very hard to understand on its own, which is Jewish magic, and he makes it entertaining. He makes it understandable. Shout out also to Aaron Leitch. Shout out also to Scott Michael Stenwick and everybody else teaching out there. There's so many that's making the knowledge digestible. That they're not, you're not worthy to learn the blah, blah, blah. Come on, man. I mean, those days are done and done. And that's one of the reasons also, too, why Wade and I have spent a lot of time with this show, because we actually want to see people grow. We want to see people develop. We want to see people open their minds. Because, if you teach somebody occultism and they actually get it, they start using it, they start applying it, and you actually see them putting in the work, that in itself is very, very inspiring. Okay, this is from Wade himself. Honestly, I've had people ask me about that stuff. I want to summon the devil. And I just tell them, then I tell them how much work goes into it, and that's a bad idea. Okay, this is true. It's actually a lot of work to summon a spirit. But, there are those people out there who, because if it's on their mind, they're going to do it. True. And not only that, too, Wade, to put it out there, there are going to be people who are actually going to give it a try. And there's a lot of work that involves it, but you wouldn't also want somebody to blow themselves up because of it. So with the way occultism is going nowadays, all the avenues are there for you to learn independently. There are some great books out there, stuff that I wish was around when I was a white belt in this practice. Shit, if I had PT Misselberger's Dancing Sorcerer, I would have made so many less mistakes. You guys have it easy, okay? The thing about it is this: there are no shortcuts to success. Too many people want to be the Dalai Lama. Too many people want to be an ascended master just so they can get more Facebook likes. And the truth is, you ain't fooling anyone, okay? You got to work for it. You got to go through the mud. You got to go through the dirt, because these powers are earned. The spirit world watches you. But the best thing about it is the means to earning these powers are all there. Like, shit, if you want to premiere on magical ceremonial magic and summoning spirits, one good start would be Frater Ashen Chassan's book. Not Stones and Circles, the other one, the blue one. That guy, it's all there, but you got to read it. You got to do the work. The thing is, I've noticed this a lot, and I'm sure Wade will agree with me. There's a lot of people out there taking photos of their bookshelves. 90% of the books they haven't even read, and 90% of that 90% they haven't even touched or haven't even practiced. Remember, occultism is a a practical art. You got to do something with it, because nobody cares if you memorize every single decant of the angels of the freaking Picatrix if you're not doing anything practical with it. So at the end of everything, you need to have a little bit more self-awareness that, I'm doing these things to grow, to develop something, and I'm not just doing it to be an encyclopedia, because they end up assholes, for lack of a better word. But that's the thing. The way occultism is going nowadays, though, all of you all out there have got resources that we just didn't have before. I also want to give a lot of credit to David Rankine's The Grimoire Encyclopedia. Holy shit. Wade, if you're watching, you got to get it. Because the only thing missing from that, and I'm going to actually ask Stephen to forward this message to David Rankin, is make it a fucking app. Simple as that. I mean, if you make an app out of that book, magical practice is going to jump light years. Now, even like the study of theurgy, with Jack Grail's Hail Hecate course or PGM, it's so accessible nowadays that the only thing preventing you guys from actually becoming magicians is to do the work. Like what I liked about Jack Grail's course is that he just said, "No, if you want to be a practitioner of the PGM, do the magic from the pre-PGM." And in his course, he gives you a message a lesson every week that you can practice. And I've actually got quite a few that I have been working on for the past couple of weeks, thanks to the simplicity of it. And you guys are also lucky that he's one of the nicest guys on the planet. Wade and I were talking about certain mages who come off as total tools. So, with that being said, I see that collaboration, community, respect, cooperation, a lot of crossing of paths is going to be happening in the near future. Um, People will be getting into magic because of tarot. People will be getting into tarot because of astrology. People getting into astrology because of um, spiritualism. In other words, all of these things are going to start conflating one way or the other. And with that, the best thing you can do for yourself is continue to keep an open mind, but more importantly, pay it forward. I've honestly been kicking the idea around of making a tracking app for magical practice, like yoga apps that walk you through a workout and keep track of what you've accomplished. Yeah, like how many times have you done Resh or how many times have you done the LBRP in a week? That would be very, very epic. I mean, just the whole technical about it, like how to make that app would be something interesting because people like to see, like they have something like that, Wade, when it comes to meditation. Um, that like how many hours have you meditated? I guess people like it as an ego boost. But ultimately speaking, though, I think like because I asked this during all episodes of Magic.tv. I asked the guests, "What's your current affairs of occultism? What do you think about it?" And I've heard mixed reactions. I've heard some people say that it's going to the dogs. I've heard certain people say that it's about to hit a new golden age. I like to say that we're about to hit a renaissance. In other words, there's going to be a new generation of occultists. And right now, we're unfortunately still neck deep in the witch talk generation where most of them don't even deserve to be there. But when the real practitioners get out there, the ones who are really serious about it, like somebody who finished, let's say, Jack Grail's PGM course and Marco Visconti's program. And they're serious, they're dedicated, but they use these technologies to spread authentic knowledge, to spread an authentic message. Then I'm pretty confident that it's going to be a new game for everybody, that it's going to reach new people, it's going to open new doors. But the most important thing about it would be, it all depends on, who is going to be the one doing it. Because there's one thing that like Jack said about like how the practice of occultism, spirituality, even paganism tends to attract broken people who've been through shit, people who've been through a lot of crap in their life. And because of that, people join it because they're looking for solutions. I like to say any sufficiently advanced magic is indistinguishable from technology. And I think we're coming up on a convergence. Yes, I agree with you there. More importantly, too, Wade, one thing I want to share with the world is you can't fool other practitioners because, like, I almost guarantee you, look back into why you got into occultism to begin with. All of you watching this episode. I don't think it's because you were saying, "Oh, I was so happy in my life," and decided to delve into the aspects of occultism. No, there was something lacking. There was a void in you that you couldn't fill. The girl you liked didn't want to date you, or you felt powerless, or you felt empty, that you wanted to communicate with something deeper, or you lost somebody meaningful to you and you wanted to commune with them, or you wanted answers to stuff that was making you anxious. All of these things are filling a void. And as a result of all this, a person who's been through hell would ideally be the right person to lead a new magical renaissance. But until then, until it's only going to be a 30-minute episode or so. Until then, people like everyone who's guested on Magic.tv, people like me, like Wade, will be there to pave the way for you guys. Because like Wade and I were talking, sometimes we just miss the good old days. You know, we miss hanging out at the bookstore talking about stuff because the next shipment of books isn't in for another 6 weeks. Wade is saying, Crowley used to say, the method of science with the aim of religion. But science has advanced 1,000 times since then, while religion has gone backwards. That much is true too. That I personally feel the next generation of magic is going to be technologizing the practice, and it's going to be practicing smart, not practicing hard. Because like guys like the old school guys had to practice hard. I mean, I'm sure at one time or another the early guard of the practice um studied the ritual, studied the book, and just said this was total fucking bullshit and wasted their time with it. Nowadays, it's like, wait a minute, what did the reviews say about this? What is so this is being talked about in Evocation or Studio Arcanis, and 66 different people who are serious about their practice mentioned it. Hence, this must have some sort of filter. In other words, we are going to be undergoing some sort of filter that's going to differentiate between practices that don't get as much sufficient outcome as we want, and practices that get us um, clearly moving in direction that we want to go in. But I'm really excited for that because, like, people who know a bit about my story, I was kind of exiled early on in my magical career. That when I was 15, right after meeting Wade, I was sent to probably the armpit of society. I won't say where it is. I don't want to piss anyone off, but there was like absolutely no hope for magic there. It was like freaking. It could have been. Might as well just been a desert island. Okay. People were closed-minded, conformist. It was all considered work of the devil. There was no one to talk to about it. So this was the ultimate test to see: do I really want this? Do I really want this to be part of my identity? Do I want to identify as an occultist? And there were times I was thinking, oh my God, it's wrong. They're saying here it's wrong. But then eventually I came to a reality and I said, no, this is me. And you could put me here, you could put me in Antarctica. This is still going to be me. And I accepted that. And what ended up happening was, even if I was in that place, I would like fly out of that shithole every summer to be with my mother in the Bay Area. I'd buy a shit ton of books, and that's how I would do things. I didn't have any books with me when I first moved there; I just had a tarot deck. But I'd like to say that it's tests like those that really test the mettle of the practitioner. And if you're a new practitioner and it's easy, welcome to level one. Okay, level one is easy and fun for everyone, like Super Mario Brothers. If you played the first Super Mario Brothers and you found level one difficult, girl, you ain't gonna be playing this game for long. Because level one is supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be enjoyable, then it gradually increases. If it's getting more and more difficult for you boys and girls out there, it only means one thing: you're on the right track. Okay, and the more you stick to it, the more dedicated you are to it, the longer you're gonna last. Now, the thing is, are you in it because you're looking for personal truth? Are you in it because you want more fulfillment in this world? Do you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to do something good for the world? Or are you in it because you want TikTok likes? Are you in it because you want to be thought of as an influencer in these practices? Because if that's the case, you will not last. Okay? You will not last, because when shit gets difficult, it's like, aside from my dog and my children, the last things I would sell in my house would be my magical paraphernalia. I'd let go of my laptop, I'd let go of my speaker set, I'd let go of my TV. My magical shit is the last to go. Okay? So think about that. All of you should consider that all the people out there who've been putting out the good stuff, they sacrificed for it. And they lasted because they stood true to that sacrifice. The same thing's going to happen to each and every one of you. Like Wade told me a lot of stories about the shit he had to go through to become a mage, and he's probably the mage I respect the most right now in this world. So if it's worthwhile to you, you'll gladly put up with the, how do I say, you'll put up with the crap. Okay, but if it's just a flash in the pan for you, then when things get difficult, you're just gonna run back to TikTok and all the other things. Just say, "Mommy, please help me." And it's not a path for the weak, trust me. And one of these days, me and Wade will share some war stories. But we're hitting on the 30-minute mark. So to wrap up this episode, once again, thank you all for making Magic.tv have 500 subscribers. To some people, that's a small number, but to us, that means the world. We love you all. Shout out to our sponsors, Anathema Publishing Limited, Goetic Impressions, uh, Scavenge Rituals. Also, shout out to some amazing people like the author of this book, who I'm very, very, very eager to have on the show this season, Ian Edwards, Dr. Ian Edwards. Shout out, but he's not next. The next episode that we're having is somebody I've talked to for quite some time. He's another old school feller. And when he gets on the show, it's going to be a lot of fun. This guy was hilarious. He was doing all this shit before I was even thinking about doing Magic.tv. I wasn't even considering ever doing anything like this. He had his own blog talk radio podcast for a while. He was hilarious, but he knows his shit. For those of you tuning in, if you didn't know, and if everything goes accordingly, praying that Mercury retrograde doesn't bitch slap us, our next guest is none other than Brother Moloch. Yes, Brother Moloch. If you're an old school occultist, you know who Brother Moloch is. I love how he writes. I love how he talks. He's just a lot of fun. So funny because when I started Magic.tv, I wanted to get him on the show, and one occultist actually told me he was dead. So I was like, holy shit. So when he appeared on Studio Arcanus again, it's like, Moloch, is that you? Like, yeah, it's me. I was like, holy shit, you're not dead. Thank God he's not dead. I mean, we would have lost the great. So Wade is throwing out big ups to us and all people watching who found value and meaning in what we do. Yes, that indeed. And of course, shout out to each and every one of you who have guested, who have commented, who have viewed, who have shared, who have subscribed. Thank you. This is for you guys. See you all, I think, August 26th for our next episode. Rob Rubin and Wade Long signing off on Magic.tv.